Hello, Kyle here with my daughter Meredith, and I want to show you some quick tips for our early learners who are just learning how to use scissors. So it's actually a pretty complex task. There's a lot of coordination with the opening and closing of the hands, the proper positioning of where your wrist should be and your elbow. So there is a lot that goes into it. So I'm just gonna kind of show you some tips how to get them started. A lot of kiddos want to pick up the scissors and use them with two hands like this. That is common. Obviously that's not correct, but that's common. So you will want to do hand over hand. Sitting behind your child is the best position because then their arms are almost extensions of yours. And it just is easier to do hand over hand and kind of see what they're doing and help guide them. So early learners with the scissors are going to need a lot of help with their helper hand. They aren't even sure, that they need to pick up the item with this hand or where to place it. So hand over hand, you're going to help them with that. And then the way to get them to hold it correctly, you're just going to have to put your fingers in there for them. The thumb goes in the smaller hole and the other fingers in the bigger side. You want to make sure their thumb is up, their elbow is tucked in. Another common position for early learners is that they like to cut like this with their elbow out and their thumb down, which is not correct. So you want to be there right behind them to kind of tip them back into the right position. Sometimes I even put a little visual cue on the child's thumb, a smiley face, a letter, a sticker, something, and it's a visual cue for them to make sure they could see the top of their thumb. When I am teaching a student to cut, we do not use regular paper. I often use cardstock, straws, as you saw in my other video. I use old greeting cards. You could use cardboard, anything that's a little bit resistant. It's easier, it's not flopping around like paper. It's easier for them to hold, and it helps them with strengthening and improving their coordination. So, okay, we might get her in the right position. She's holding this, the scissors are right, and she doesn't know how to open them. So you will have to do hand over hand and kind of open the tool, guide the cardstock or whatever you're cutting into the tool, and then what I do is kind of pull away and hope that they can squeeze and snip. So go ahead, see if she can snip, and she can snip. It's pretty common that they can close the tool. It's just working it back and forth, opening, and closing. That's the difficult part. So you want to do the first step for them, let them do the snipping, the closing of the tool, and then we'll build on that. Just give them lots of practice. Again, open. So I'm going to kind of help her with the opening. And she's going to snip. Awesome job. And then we're going to do that a couple times. Eventually you might be able to fade and kind of let them just go to town and let them snip away. Kids love to snip with scissors. So a quick little tip for the kiddos who are just not quite getting that position, that proper cutting position down, where your elbow has to be in, your wrist in neutral, and your thumb up. A lot of kids, they are just stuck on cutting with their elbow out and their thumb down. So a little trick is to tape a piece of paper up higher, so they have to reach a little bit above their shoulder level. Again, kiddos are going to need some help putting their helper hand on the paper. That's always important to make sure that is there. And the purpose of taping it up a little bit higher is when they go to try the position that they are used to cutting in, at a table or sitting down, this naturally makes it very difficult, doesn't it? Can you cut upside down? They would have to twist their whole body to get that thumb down and their elbow out. So putting this where they have to reach a little bit, it just kind of naturally puts their elbow and their wrist and their thumb in the right position. So I'm going to go ahead and put her helper hand up there. and go ahead and let her cut. Her thumb is naturally up and in the right position. So this is good practice. Do it standing up. It'll create muscle memory and teach them the correct way to hold those scissors when they're not sitting down, but stand them up. So I just wanted to summarize super quick the development of cutting with scissors and how a child learns. We do a lot of foundational things through play. We use a lot of tongs, opening and closing, clothespins, opening and closing, just squeezing balls, sponges, like in the bathtub I had mentioned in one of my other videos, squeezing glue, anything that opens and closes their fingers, squirt bottles, that kind of thing. That's a huge foundation. Then you're going to work on positioning. It's a lot of hand over hand, like I showed you in the video. Snipping is next. Once they learn how to open and close that tool without assistance, just let them snip. Don't worry about lines. They don't have to move forward. They are just simply snipping away at the cardstock or cardboard or whatever you might have. The next step is to line those scissors up on a target. Again, they're going to need guidance, hand over hand. That could be faded. Once they're able to do that, moving forward with the tool is next. I find this to be tricky for kids to learn how to do too. A lot of times they want to cut down on the line and pull away instead of opening and moving forward. So it takes a good bit of guidance and hand over hand if your child wants to snip and pull rather than move forward. You want to get them going in the right direction. And then once they're able to do short lines, you could make the lines longer. And then once they've mastered that, that's when you could start doing curves and changing directions. And then they're ready to be cutting out shapes. So hopefully this helped. Let me know if you have any questions at all. Thanks. Bye-bye.